Hello folks, I just wanted to share one of the techniques that I use to soften an image right at the start of editing, softening it and also saturating the colour. And this is really natural way to bring out the natural colour of the image. So rather than using hue and saturation layers, this is my go-to technique. So I've got the example here, so I'm going to show you what it looks like afterwards. So that's how it looks after the technique, and that's how it looks before. Quite an extreme effect, not perfect. It needs tweaking, but just to share with you the technique, let me show you how I do it. So I'm going to turn that one off. You can see this is the original image, and above it, I've already got the layers adjustment, levels adjustment, sorry, because let's just turn that one off. As you can see, the image is very underexposed. So I've just popped a levels adjustment on to correct it. And I would leave that, so that will just move up my layer stack as I'm working, rather than having to go into camera raw, which then means the layer is a smart object or I can't change it. There's all these other complications. I just prefer to use an adjustment layer. So here I am sat on the image itself, and I'm going to say Command or Control J to duplicate the layer. And then let's make this a smart object. So that's a right mouse click on the layer and then convert to smart object, and you get your little icon to say that's what it is. Let's say filter, blur, and then come to Gaussian blur. Now with Gaussian blur, you don't want it too strong because it will make the whole screen a different colour. So you can end up with too much darkness, too much loss of detail. So I'm just going to pull that down a bit to around there. That's probably how I'd like it to look. So let's just say OK. Now, as you can see, we can't see anything. The next step is to make sure you've got your layer selected and come to your blend mode and come down to soft light. So there's before and there's after. So what's happened is, and the reason I've done the blur or created the blur, is the blur hasn't just saturated the colour. I could have done that by just duplicating the layer. It's actually started to soften it. It's very, very subtle. But this is a great way to start softening to get that painterly effect. Let's turn off our blur and you can see, so there is the image without the blur. So that is just the layers duplicated and put on a soft light blend mode. So that's really quite sharp. And if you want the sharp image, fantastic, probably too strong. And you could, if you wanted that effect, just now bring your opacity or your fill down a little bit, and you've created that strength of colour without the softness. So let's just bring these back up and turn the blur back on. As you can see, when I turn it on, if you watch particularly around the top here on the fern, which is something I really want to blend out, I will turn that back on and you can see how much softer that background already is. So it saves an awful lot of time for me coming in, trying to manually soften this with a brush or a smudge tool, just creating a blurry layer, soft light blend mode. And then on areas that maybe I don't want so soft, I could come onto the filter mask, because we created this into a smart object before we did anything else. And because we did that, we have a mask with it. So if there were areas now that I didn't want to be so strongly affected by the duplication or the blur, you'll get the duplication, sorry, because you've duplicated the layer and you'd have to paint on a mask on here to get rid of that. But if you want to get rid of some of the blur effect, select your mask, make sure you've got black selected and B for the brush tool, mine's already selected, and then you can just paint on your mask. And if you watch the pony's mane where I'm clicking, you can see instantly how the edge becomes sharper again. So this is a great technique for saturating the colour, bringing the depth into the image, really bringing out the richness of that pony's really beautiful colouring, because her mane really is silvery blue almost when you see her, and softening it. So let's just turn that off. That was the original. That's with the duplication. At the moment we have the blur on. Without it, it looks like that. So you could pull through areas that you wanted sharper again by painting on your filter mask. And if there are areas you don't want strongly coloured, make sure that you've got your layer itself selected, click on your little mask icon, and then you can come on to the image itself. Now just notice my opacity is at 78%, my flow is at 54. So I'm going to pull my opacity up but leave the flow around 50%. So on my layer mask this time, so we were on the filter mask, now we're on the layer mask, I'm going to come in and paint black. So if there are areas, that's too strong for me, I'd probably come back over that and just pull that effect back. So I'm going to go X, flip colours, so white, just put a bit back and blend. And you have to work where the lines are and think to yourself, what would be natural? Where is the colour going to be? So that would then bring back some of the areas that have got a bit too shadowy. So that is a quick technique. Just to recap, sit on your original and it's Command or Control J to duplicate your layer. On your new layer, I did a right click and converted it to a smart object. I came up and said filter, Gaussian blur, blur, Gaussian blur. And that was the effect on the layer. You automatically get a filter mask because it's a smart object. So all I've done there is painted black on the mask to bring back the detail on the edge of the pony's mane. And when I wanted to get rid of some of the strength of the colour effect, I've painted on a layer mask, which I created using your little icon at the bottom here to create a layer mask. Mine says add vector mask at the moment, purely because I've already got a layer mask on there. Okay, so I hope that technique is helpful to you. Great way to add saturation and softness in your edits. Until next time, thanks so much. Bye for now.